What's good, people? It is Tony the Savant. And before we get started, please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live on the channel. As well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel as I drop content daily, go live daily. Stay very busy on the platform. And last but not least, please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. I'm always intrigued to hear what you all have to say about these topics, especially when it's some NFL football. Because, ladies and sports fans and gentlemen, we are recapping the Thursday night football showdown between two NFC East rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. I should flip that because it was a home game for the Eagles, actually. And the Eagles were able to win this one 26-18. And while doing so, extending their win streak to 6 games now. And I gotta say, man, it's always that one team that gets hot during the middle part of the NFL season. Last season, it was my Packers. In addition to a few other teams, there's always a few teams that get hot, but the Eagles are in that trend right now, playing some good football at the right time, and again have a 6 game winning streak. Behind the efforts of, dare I say, another MVP campaign candidate for Jalen Hurts. He's been balling as of recent. And Saquon Barkley, who is my leading candidate for Offensive Player of the Year right now. But we got a lot to talk about in this game. So let's get right into it. I got notes everywhere. I usually filter in my notes into a more organized format, y'all, but do forgive me. So if I'm a little bit all over the place. But the Washington Commanders opened up this game with a touchdown from Brian Robinson Jr., who has been a pretty good running back for him, a good, balanced attack. Good partner with Austin Eckler. I believe Eckler was out with an injury, and Brian Robinson took on the lead back duties for a little while there. But he kicked the game off with a touchdown, and from that point on, I thought personally that we will be getting more of the Washington Commanders show. Jaden Daniels, both these teams started out pretty slow, but I figured that the Washington Commanders would be would be looking to bounce back from a horrible performance last week. Dare I say, not horrible, but just not up to what we've been accustomed to seeing them play the first 8 or 9 games of the season. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. They lost that game essentially, on a game-winning penalty for the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they was able to get one of the young defensive linemen to jump off. Jump off sides, and that was how the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to seal that game. So, albeit they still had an opportunity to win that game last week. The point of the matter was, for me, I thought that Washington Commanders and Coach Dan Quinn would come into this game a little bit more motivated, as they were matched up against Kellen Moore, one of his former co-workers with the Dallas Cowboys, speaking of Coach Dan Quinn, and their NFC East division rival in the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Eagles have had something to say about it, and again, they've been playing some good football at the right time. I will raise my hand when I say I'm surprised at the success that Vic Fangio has been able to have with this defense. Not surprised, as far as the guys that's on this team, because you got young prospects, not prospects, you got young elite defensive players and Keon Mitchell and Jalen Carter, in addition to the vets on this team. And they're all just playing good football. If I can, as much praise as I want to get at Jalen Hurts, Saquon, and those guys, we got to give some credit to the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles as well. As they are, hold up, I got some notes. I believe they are fifth in yards. No, they're fifth in points allowed this season. Their defense is, and they are second in yards allowed this season. And both those statistics held up this game. as they were able to hold the Washington Commanders underneath 300 yards. And it seems like to me the Philadelphia Eagles took a lot of the blueprint that the Pittsburgh Steelers applied last week, to the Washington Commanders, that they were able to really stifle and stall the phenomenal talents of Jaden Daniels. Uh, but moving on, some of the highlights that I had to write down for this game: the Eagles did score 20 fourth quarter points. This game was a nail biter up until the fourth quarter. It started off with a Jalen Hurts touchdown. And side note, Jake Elliott, man, he was very inefficient this evening on his field goal kicking. He missed two field goals, one from 44 yards, one from 51 yards, and also he missed an extra point conversion. So very unlike Jake Elliott, I believe. In addition to those misses, he's missed three. No, excuse me, five field goals this season. And just totally unlike him. Since 2021, fun stat: Jake Elliott is 90.9% in field goal attempts. And that's with 80 or more attempts per season. So typically very efficient, very reliable, but not this game, unfortunately. But nonetheless, the Eagles were able to score. Again, 24th quarter points, one due to a rushing touchdown from Jalen Hurts. And then there were two home run touchdowns from Saquon Barkley, who I am thankful for. One of my fantasy football players, Saquon, and I also have Devontae Smith, who's been very quiet fantasy football wise these last few weeks. But Saquon and Devontae both started off pretty slow this season. I mean, not this season, excuse me, this game. And then Saquon was able to take off again for two home run touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and those two touchdowns were 20 seconds apart because one touchdown he scored, um, and then I gave the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe, a what was it? Because it was up 10-12. It was 19-10. And then Reed Blankenship, the linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles, standout linebacker, he was able to get an interception, a timely interception on Jaden Daniels in the fourth quarter. And then that also led to Saquon Barkley's second touchdown score. Again, all within 20 seconds. This dude went from having a dud in a dud fantasy football game to putting up 30 points literally all of a sudden. So just kudos to the defense again, and also kudos to Saquon Barkley. As much as I would love to heap some praise on Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts, this offense has been going as Saquon has been going. We all knew that Saquon Barkley was a phenomenal superstar, elite running back in his days with the New York Giants. And it seems to me all he needed was a reliable, offensive line and a decent amount of teammates. In this case, he has some elite teammates. And now we're really seeing the skill set of Saquon Barkley shine through. Again, he is my lead candidate for Offensive Player of the Year. And it's looking like, was that Penn State that I always get BYU and Penn State mixed up, but I believe Saquon came from Penn State, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me in the comments. And it's looking like Penn State Saquon out here. A couple more of my notes. We talked about Jalen Hurts, Jake Elliott, Fangio. Game started slow, as we talked about before. 6-game win streak. Within the 6-game win streak, the Philadelphia Eagles have been able to hold their opponents, I think, all but one game in the 6-game win streak. They've been able to hold their opponents to under 20 points a game. Again, another attachment to Vic Fangio and this defense. Very impressive. Last night, I looked at I forget what it was. I forget what it was I was looking at. I'll be looking at so much stuff. I'm sorry, y'all, but it was percentage wise of the chances that the Philadelphia Eagles have of winning the NFC East division right now, and it went from 63 to 81% as I was watching it, y'all. So that this game concluded. So now the Eagles are the lead favorite. I mean, they already had a heavy favorite to win the division before, but the Washington Commanders were their last test to see if they could beat the only other team that has a winning record in the NFC East, and they did so in an impressive fashion. Um, in addition to that, they're 3-0 in the division now, so that bodes well for the Eagles, and if they can keep going and don't have a collapse like they did last season in the second half of the season, then this could be very good for them. Because I believe the Eagles were 10-1 at this point in the season last year, so and they collapsed. They literally fell off the planet, the football planet after that. So we'll see if they can maintain their success. Uh, yeah, we talked about all of this on my notepad. The Commanders are now a game and a half behind the Eagles. Um, Kudos to the Commanders. They were able to keep in my opinion, one of the best wide receiver duos, if not the best wide receiver duos, and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. They were able to keep them in check, but that 28th ranked run defense for the Washington Commanders really showed itself, especially at the end of the game when they needed these guys to keep the Eagles contained. Let Saquon go for two long rush touchdown drives, and that's just unacceptable. We'll see what happens. Kudos to Dan Quinn, though, former defensive coordinator for the Washington Cowboys. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys. He had these guys locked in all game long, and it was only up until the fourth quarter that they let things slip away. Uh, so far, though, we got to mention that Dan Quinn and the Washington Commanders, even with this loss, this season has been a surprise and, dare I say, a success so far, because they are 3 games. They have won 3 more games than they won last season, all of last season. So that's very impressive. I feel like they are ahead of schedule. All things considered, we're talking about a rookie quarterback who's playing way better than we thought he could play. We're talking about the resurgence of Scary Terry, um, having the kind of career that he's been having. Always been a great wide receiver, but I believe that Jaden Daniels is like the 7th or 8th quarterback that he's caught passes from, and we see that he has established himself as a wide receiver one, and now that he has a dependable and a proficient quarterback, all things considered, and then still they are only a game and a half behind the division leader, in the Philadelphia Eagles. So I just want to say, in spite of this loss, in spite of this, the last 2 ugly losses that the Commanders have experienced between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles, this team has still been a surprise and a success, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward for them to keep it rolling. We'll just see. Maybe they kind of flattened out a little bit. Playing so well like they did in the beginning of the season. But now there's tape out there on you. Of course, that's always a negative against these sensational, may I say, these sensational rookie quarterbacks. Namely, when NFL teams see another team, do something successful against you, they're going to try it themselves, whilst throwing in some other wrenches to throw you off your game. So maybe things are just kind of flattening out for the Washington Commanders, but I do expect for them to recover and get themselves a playoff spot. They were, averaging 5.3 yards per play. But then last week against the Steelers, only averaged 4.1. Last night versus the Eagles, they only averaged 4.2. So that's, again, another mark of people having tape on you, knowing exactly what your tendencies are and attacking them. So we'll see if the Washington Commanders can clean that up. For Saquon Barkley, he had some some stats that I think that are just eye popping. Um, Yesterday was his eighth game. Well, excuse me, I should say last night was his eighth game with 100, with at least 100 yards from scrimmage, total scrimmage yards. 8 games of that this season. This is the most in the NFL right now as well. And it was also his fourth game against the Washington Commanders, as he's played them a lot in his career, coming from the New York Giants to now the Philadelphia Eagles. His fourth consecutive game with 100 or more fourth consecutive game of 100 or more scrimmage yards versus the Washington Commanders. So, in addition to the Washington Commanders having a putrid run defense, Saquon just seems to have their number on that team, as he always has a successful game against them. Speaking of that explosive offense again for the Washington Commanders, they were 5 of 14 on third down conversions last week. Last night against the Philadelphia Eagles, only 3 of 12. So they got to clean that up. And another thing, the Washington Commanders wide receivers were absolutely shut down last night. Now, I don't know if that's an indictment on Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator. I don't know if that's an indictment on Jaden Daniels or if that's an indictment on the wide receivers. Maybe all of the above in this situation, because the wide receivers for the Commanders only caught 4 passes for 28 yards versus the Philadelphia Eagles. In my opinion, that is absolutely unacceptable. You got to do better in that regard. A good kudos that the wide receivers, I mean, not the running backs and the tight ends, because Zach Ertz was able to get a touchdown. Again, Brian Robinson started off the festivities with a touchdown himself. So good for those guys to still be able to be active in all of the hoopla. But you need your wide receivers, especially a guy like Scary Terry. You need them to produce if you're going to be successful, especially against an explosive offense like the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to be able to match that firepower at the bare minimum. Real quick, y'all, I want to look at the box scores real quick, just so we can get a numerical picture of how this game unfolded. Let's look at it real quick. All right. So for the losing team, the Washington Commanders, who are now 7-4 in the NFC East, and hold the second place. Jaden Daniels, he went 22 of 32 for 191 yards, 1 touchdown score, 1 interception, and the QB, not the QBR, overall offensive rating of 81.6. He also was sacked 3 times he was sacked 3 times as well. Brian Robinson, again, 16 receptions. Not receptions, 16 carries for 63 yards. And again, he started off the show with 1 touchdown score himself. Jaden Daniels, he ran the ball 7 times for 18 yards. And I got to say, too, man, Jaden Daniels, these last 2 weeks, he's been good with his legs, his running, but these last 2 weeks, he has been absolutely stifled. I think that last week he only had 13 yards on the ground, if I'm not mistaken. Only this game he had 18 yards rushing. And that's just something that's got to be fixed. That's a huge part of the Washington Commanders' attack. And if Jaden Daniels can't scramble for a couple yards here and there, this offense is going to look very stagnant, as it did last night, as it did versus the Steelers. Austin Eckler, he pitched in 2 carries for 7 yards. Got to get him more activity. Didn't do much in the rushing department, but Austin Eckler led the wide receiving department of the offense. He had 8 receptions for 89 yards. And for the fantasy football community, he had 9 targets. So Austin Eckler gets a lot of attention in the receiving part of this offense. Zach Ertz, again, he had a touchdown score, the lone touchdown score for the wide receivers, the lone touchdown pass for Jaden Daniels. He had 6 receptions for 47 yards and 7 targets. For the tight end, the actual former Philadelphia Eagles tight end, that's crazy. Funny how things come full circle. John Bates, he had 2 receptions for 17 yards. Scary Terry McLaurin had 1 reception for 10 yards. And again, the wide receivers, man, they were just absolutely shut out this game. Unacceptable, and they got to do better on this offensive side. 2 sacks for the defense, both go to Frankie Lavu uh, for the Washington Commanders. And the interception that was, oh, wait. Okay, no. That's on the other side. Let's look at the Eagles real quick. Jalen Hurts, again, who I have in the MVP race. No touchdown scores for him this game. Um, as last week versus the Cowboys, I think he had 4 touchdowns. He accounted for 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing touchdowns, but no, he did have a rushing touchdown, respectfully, but no passing touchdowns this game. But he did go 18 to 28 for 221 yards, offensive rating of 88.5, and he was sacked 2 times in this game. Saquon Barkley had put on the show this evening, 26 carries for 146 yards. Again, had 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns that put the game away. Kenneth Gainwell, he also pitched in 4 carries for 43 yards, very effective. And Jalen Hurts had 10 carries for 39 yards, and also had the fourth down touchdown run for himself. A.J. Brown had 5 receptions for 65 yards. He was in the mix, had 8 targets for the fantasy football community. Dallas Goedert, who has been a very reliable tight end as far as if you play fantasy, and as far as this Philadelphia Eagles defense goes, Dallas has been very reliable. He had 5 receptions as well for 61 yards, and he caught all 5 of his targets. Saquon pitched in two receptions for 52 yards, and Devontae Smith, another one of my fantasy football guys, had 4 receptions for 29 yards. For the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles, again, and I want to say Zach Bond, he made a good play on a 4th down. I believe it was a 4th and 2 when Jaden Daniels was tried to scramble and get a first down. Was running on the outside, running on the outside, and Zach Bond hit that kid with a NFL hit. A welcome to the NFL hit, and I love that. So he's been clicking this him and Nakobe Dean for this Philadelphia Eagles defense. 2 names you may not hear a lot, but they're definitely contributing to the success. Brandon Graham had a sack. John Sweat had a sack. Nolan Smith Jr. had a sack. And Reed Blankenship picked up the 4th-quarter interception for the Philadelphia Eagles defense that helped put this game away. Real quick, total team stats. First downs, 18 for the Commanders, 23 for the Philadelphia Eagles. The third down conversions, 3 of 12 for the Washington Commanders compared to 9 of 16 for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is elite right there. 264 yards for the Commanders compared to 434 yards for the Philadelphia Eagles. Passing yards, 171 for the Commanders compared to 206 for the Eagles. Rushing is where the major difference sits in. There was only 93 rushing yards for the Commanders compared to 228 rushing yards for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's good work right there. Penalties, 4 penalties apiece for both teams, 25 penalty yardage, 25 yards of penalties for the Washington Commanders compared to 49 for the Philadelphia Eagles. In time of possession, 26 minutes and 56 seconds for the Washington Commanders compared to 33 minutes and 4 seconds for the Eagles. So, very good game through and through. Sorry, this video was a little longer than I expected it to be, but there was a lot to talk about in this game. A lot on the line. The Philadelphia Eagles move on to 8-2 and are the lone leader of the NFC East division right now. I believe the Eagles are even like number 2 in the NFC playoff picture right now. So kudos to them. I don't think anybody expected this bounce back from the Philadelphia Eagles. It looks like they want their revenge from the 2022 campaign. And we'll see what they can do, man. We'll see what they can do. Also, I want to give a shout out to Cam Jurgens, I believe the gentleman's name is, the guy that replaced Jason Kelsey as the center for the Philadelphia Eagles. He hasn't been, he's been getting some attention, but I don't think his contributions have been getting enough light, as he is absolutely carving out holes for Gainwell, Jalen Hurts. Excuse me, for Jalen Hurts, Gainwell, and Saquon. All of these guys to put in work running out of the backfield. So very much so. Shout out to Cam Jurgens. But that's all I got for y'all on this one, man. Please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live on the channel as well if you have not already. Please subscribe to the channel as I drop content daily, go live daily, stay busy on the platform. And last but not least, please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Always interested to hear what you all have to say about some NFL football. I am Tony the Savant. Peace.